Hi everyone, my name is Rudy Schwab. This is Russell Gray, Drew McLennan, and Gil Nova. I'm a rolling stone, all alone in the dark. I was in, I made the loss. When I was blind, all people say, there goes another guy, almost highway. Just a deck of cards and a jug of wine, and a book of lies made to life like mine. For we met, I went astray. Start rolling down that lost highway. I was just a lad in a 22. Needed a good old man just to keep like you. And now I'm old, too late to pay. Rolling across Summer's highway. Now boys don't stop till you're round and round. Almost roll us in, I'm so bound. Take my advice, so you'll rest today. Start rolling down that lost highway. He was rolling down that lost highway.
Welcome to this service of memorial and life tribute for Luke Rachwalski. On behalf of the family, I want to thank you for your attendance here today, for all the good wishes that you poured out for them, for all the ways in which you have supported them in the midst of their grief. My name is Stephen Swift, and it's my privilege to be the life celebrant today, to kind of guide us through this process of honoring Luke and celebrating his life and remembering him well. The service today has been designed by the family and along with quite a number of Luke's friends. You're going to see a lot of participation and a lot of different ways in which his life is going to be celebrated. I ask just one favor of you before we go any further. If you've not thought to turn off your cell phones or to mute them, would you please do so now? The purpose of this service is to help us process the grief that grips you today. In our culture, there's an effort to deny or to avoid grieving. We're losing, if we haven't already lost, the critical and invaluable skill of knowing how to grieve well. This is a dangerous thing because there's so much loss in life. and it needs to be worked through in a healthy way. One of the healthiest ways that we've always worked through grief is through music. And it's such an important part of this day, even as it was an important part of Luke's life. In grieving over Luke, I trust that you will keep in mind these things. That to really honor him today and in the future, you need to remember him and to celebrate his life. These are not going to be carried out in just a one-time event like this. They'll be part of every day, part of a number of days, over and over again, like a verse and chorus, verse and chorus. So today we call you to remember. I know that there'll be a flood of memories that come to you through the songs that you'll hear, the pictures that you'll see, the words that people will share. And let me just share with you a few thoughts very briefly to open up the service. First and foremost, I encourage you to remember Luke for how he lived. It can be so easy to remember someone for having died, but I encourage you to make a choice right now that says you will carry on his memory this day and into the future with appreciation for how he lived. Readily recall those wonderful qualities of his nature and how he lived, and use those to replace the anger of the loss that you may be feeling this day. And so remember him for how he touched your life and the mark that he left. But also I would encourage you to remember him in a very realistic way. He was wonderful, but he was not perfect. He was someone who had some not so great aspects to his nature. Even as he had many wonderful qualities, you're going to hear of this. All I'm saying is realistically remember him. Don't get carried away with any one aspect of his nature. It's enough for you to hold fast to the truth of who he was, remembering nothing more and certainly nothing less. And finally, remember what's lasting. He's no longer here in person, but there are elements of his existence that will never pass away. The love that he showed to you and the love that you had for him does not end with that. How he enjoyed life and how he uplifted you and how his music has inspired you will stay with you. So for all that he did in life, for all that he demonstrated, for all that he brought you in laughter and joy, hold fast to those things because they remain with you. And so today I ask, what are you going to remember? What are you going to celebrate? I trust that you will remember something about his character. Perhaps you'll even just remember that he was a character. That's okay too. You'll think of his integrity. You're going to think of that sense of humor. You're going to share some wonderful stories. You're going to think of some wonderful times that you spent together, thinking of his good heart and the way he helped you and extended caring to you. Use those as a way of honoring him. I have a couple of readings that I want to share with you before we get into the bulk of the program. The first is one that I thought was very fitting, and you're going to see why. These are not words that Luke wrote, but I want you to hear them in his voice today, if you could do that, as if he was saying them to you today. It's called, I Have Sung My Songs. I have played and sung my songs, songs of life and love and laughter, songs of sadness and trials and mourning. The melodies have covered everything from rock and roll to ballads. But still I sang, for always, always there was the music. My earthly voice is still now, but the song of life is not over, for I sing now the songs of eternity. This second reading addresses a point that we are all in agreement, that Luke died far too young. And that we even have to gather today for something like this is a tragedy beyond words. But Leo Tolstoy wrote these words that I think are fitting for us to hear today. He said, "When someone dies too young, we think it's unfair that they did not get to experience more of life. But how do you know they did not live to fullness? What a crude measure of life is this concept of time. The fullness of life is not measured by a number of years. To do so would be the same as saying, why is this poem, or this picture, or this piece of music so short? Why was it broken off and not drawn out to the size of the longest speech, or the longest piece of music? The measure of time or length is incapable of touching on the greatness of productions, of wisdom or poetry. And it is even more evidently true that it is inapplicable as a fair measure of life. How do you know what inner growth this soul has achieved in his given span? Or what influence he had, and still has, on others? These are the truly worthy marks for the fullness of a life lived well." We gather here to remember the brief but full life of Henry Luke Rachwalski. Everyone knew him as Luke, an accomplished musician, poet, a beautiful soul who lived every day with passion. He cared so much about his family, his music, and his community of friends. And the size of this gathering here today is a testament to the lives that he touched. He was born in Vancouver, but raised in Victoria since he was a toddler, so he always considered Victoria to be his home, and it was. He attended Gordon Head and Lambert Park schools, and like most youngsters, played numerous sports. He excelled in both soccer and baseball. But music became his calling and his greatest passion in life. And as you will hear today, he had a tremendous talent as an artist that really had only just begun to blossom. Luke has a very large and supportive extended family, most of whom were in Vernon and throughout BC and Alberta. And many family members have traveled here today. Other friends of Luke have also traveled great distances to be here. And Morris, Terry, and Jack would like to thank all of you for making the effort to join in the celebration of Luke's life. We all know the story how Luke's journey last fall across Canada with his band Canvas, Jimi, James, Fraser, Peter, Keys, Ransford, Devon, Venoit, and close friend Ruby Schwab in a convertible school bus. Although we lost Luke in body that tragic day, January the 10th, he will live on forever in our hearts and through his music. This celebration will include Luke's favorite music and some of his original compositions performed by his friends. At any time, sing along if you want to. Luke certainly would have. The lyrics of each song are in the program that you have today. Before we move into the musical tribute, we're going to take time now to see a brief look at Luke's life through pictures. So if you would turn your attention to the screen, please.
I've lost such a cost. Give me things that don't get lost, like a coin that won't get tossed, rolling home to you. Oh man, take a look at my life, I'm a lot like you. I need someone to love me the whole day through. One look in my eyes and you can tell that's true. Lullabies, look in your eyes, run around the same old town. Doesn't mean that much to me, to mean that much to you. I've been first and last, look at how the time goes past. But I'm all alone at last, rolling home to you. Oh man, take a look at my life, I'm a lot like you. I need someone to love me the whole day through. One look in my eyes and you can tell that's
thank you all for coming out. We're Luke's friends, and this first song is called Leftover Soul.
Good afternoon, everybody. You're a great sight. My name is Bob McKay, and I have the honor to be one of Luke's uncles, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to share a few words about Luke. Henry Luke Rachwalski was born June 1st, 1991. And right from the beginning, he was a very welcomed individual into a very large family. Luke has 17 aunts and uncles, 36 cousins, 21 second cousins, and growing. So, the story is, when Terry was in the hospital, some of the aunties were out shopping in Bellingham, I think. And I think they went over there. I don't know the whole story, maybe I shouldn't have it, because they bought a lot of stuff down there, and I think a lot of it came up to Canada for Luke. So he was very welcomed into the family. And over the years, being such a large family, we had the opportunity to get together fairly often, not as often as we would like. The Rachwalski clan that moved to the island, that meant that they were further away than we probably would have liked it, because we would have liked them to be a little closer. But we made up for it when they did come to Vernon, and we had a lot of fun. And I just want to say thank you again for being here. So far, Stephen did an awesome job with giving an insight into who Luke was, and we love him very much, and we're grateful. I'm grateful to spend a few minutes with you and share a few memories that some of this extended large family has. Now, as I told you, there's lots of aunts and uncles, lots of cousins, so not everybody was able to share what they wanted to do, but I've picked out some real good ones, I think. So now, Uncle Garth is, you'll get to meet him tonight, hopefully. He had the opportunity to watch Luke and Jack on, we called it the sleepover. And when the boys came back, see Mom and Dad, they had some excited, they were so excited. They said, Mom, Uncle Gar's so cool. He gave us all this really neat food. He had craft dinner. They had cheesies and orange pop. There was a color theme there, so we heard after the fact. Now, I don't know how Morris and Terry thought of this. Nutritious weekend? Not really, but lots of memories there. So any of you that have watched the movie Uncle Buck, John Candy, that's Garth's nickname. So. Cousin Carrie, that's my daughter. This is what she wanted to share with you. Luke, just want to let you know how super blessed I am that I had the chance to frolic and bond in the woods at Annie Joe's with a few of our cousins when we did. Then returned to have you on your guitar and my dad jamming on the harmonica. This is what I call a mental picture, something to hold close to heart and never to be lost or taken away. I went home that day with a huge amount of respect and admiration. Now, Allie is Carrie's daughter, and after we heard of passing of Luke, Allie put a keychain with the letter L on the keychain so that the memory would always be there. Carrie goes on to say, a dozen times a day, I think of how many lives you have touched with your free spirit, your charm, smile, determination, talent, and love of life. Cousin Megan. I remember when Morris and Terry lived in Vernon. That was a long time ago. They lived on 19th Street. I was over, and Luke and I were dancing to Charlotte Diamond. How do you dance to Charlotte Diamond? But we were supposed to be eating lunch, and Andy Terry got mad at us. Yeah. Okay. Also, I remember hanging out at the cabin on West Side Beach. Beach fires, searching for the Ogopogo. Oh, he was always searching, wasn't he? Auntie Joanne. She's a matriarch, kind of. All the reunions have been at her house. That's where the woods were. So she's got a nice little piece of property up on the mountainside. So when Luke was passing through on the way to Montreal, they phoned, or I don't know what the arrangements were, but they stopped and saw Auntie Joanne and Uncle Willie. And this is what she said. When the band was on their way to Montreal, they stopped off in Vernon and stayed overnight with Uncle Willie and myself. I fed them in the morning. So they came in. Now, I never saw the bus, but I heard about the bus. And I guess how Auntie Joanne was. Luke got to stay in the fifth wheel, so he had comfortability. Where the other band members went, I don't know, but he was spoiled right to the end. So at the end, in the morning, they all got up, and Auntie Joanne fed them, and hugged and kissed Luke goodbye. Told him to be safe out there because it is a tough world out there. They climbed into the bus and they went to fulfill their dreams. Now, Auntie Joanne's probably the last member of the family. Say goodbye, hug him and kiss him. So we rely on her to pass on our love to him at that time. Auntie Cheryl. One of my fondest memories was when Auntie Carolyn and I went to babysit Luke for a week, Victoria. We watched The Jungle Book for my very first time, and the second time, and the third time. Luke loved the bear. Wouldn't you know it? It was a musical. It started really young. Cheryl goes on to say, I love to see Luke's excitement. He was a joy to be around. Darren. Darren's in Calgary. He couldn't make it, but this is his thoughts. My memory is not that great, again, because they lived here and we didn't see him as often as we wanted, but this is what he remembers. I seem to have more general memories about Luke rather than specifics. He was always full of energy, which we all know how he was, and had a fun sense of humor. I remember having fun times with Luke, Jack, and Morris at Shamrock games in Victoria and spending time at their grandparents' cabin on Okanagan Lake. My most specific memory is when Luke was getting into guitar. Now Darren is getting into it a little bit at the same time. He and his family were visiting our house in Vernon, and I was showing my guitar skills. I told him I was learning Foo Fighters, and I was pretty proud of my progress. I'm not sure exactly how long he had been playing, but I didn't think he had been playing for so long. So I was surprised when he said, oh yeah, I know that one. He picked up my guitar, and sure enough, he could play the song. Not only that, but he was better than me. I soon after set a mental goal to not let my younger cousin be better than me on the guitar. So, sorry, Darren. Blow it, man. However, I think it's pretty clear how long the goal lasted, as I still haven't mastered that Foo Fighters song. And Luke continued to master his skills to start a successful band. Luke was a great kid, and I admire his passion and devotion to doing what he loves. He will be missed. Cousin Brent. One of my best memories of Luke was how thrilled he seemed to be to have Sarah and me stay with him and his family when we visited Victoria as part of their honeymoon. Victoria's a nice place to go on a honeymoon, right? It made our trip that much more enjoyable to be so welcomed into their home. In all my interactions with him, Luke was warm and inviting and a pleasure to talk to. I remember observing when he was younger how good Luke was at involving younger kids in the activities. Although he only had one sibling, you gotta remember how many cousins he had. So he was really good with kids. This trait of being warm and welcoming continued as he grew up. I was waiting for Luke's cross-country tour to hit Calgary so I could finally hear him play live. I'm sure he put on a great show. Sarah, who is Brent's wife, her memory was, my first memory of Luke was seeing his school picture along with Jack's on Auntie Penny's fridge when Brent was living at Penny's while we were dating. Penny talked a lot about what great kids Luke and Jack were, and I discovered that was true for myself when we spent more time with them on our honeymoon in Victoria. Luke seemed like an exceptionally well-behaved and pleasant child compared to some of my younger siblings and cousins. I don't know what kind of cousins and siblings she has, but anyway. Over the years at family get-togethers, Luke has always been so friendly and pleasant to talk to. As Luke entered adulthood, I loved his beard because it made him a dead ringer for Morris in his younger days. And I remember those Morris. Luke always promoted his band in such a friendly way on Facebook. That I wish I could have gone to a concert and would have if the distance hadn't been so far. Love you, Luke. Travis. Like in some of those pictures, there were a few pictures of Travis. They were good buds, especially on the beach in the summer. This is what Travis remembers. Few memories I have are when they would come to Vernon, and we would play spies all the time as kids. Or the one time we played basketball outside in the rain, for what felt like hours, and we had a blast doing it. Luke, he always loved to have fun, never dull moments, always had a smile on. This is my recollection. One of my greatest regrets is that I didn't hear Luke in his bands. We were cut from the same cloth. Always loved music. Rock and roll, that was me. And so when Luke would come around and found out that he was a musician, he was aspiring, and we used to have talks on the things, the music that we liked. The greatest one was when I found out that he knew the bands that I grew up with. You know, the Led Zeppelins, the Stones, all that. He knew all that. Because he knew music. He loved music. One of my greatest memories was at one of the family reunions a few years ago, at Annie Joe's, of course, near the woods. We got together. It was really hot, beautiful day. And he brought his guitar, of course. But he knew that I used to play harmonica. I hadn't done it for 20 years. But he brought his guitar, but he also brought some harmonicas. So he said, "Want to play? The jam." 20 years is a long time, right? So he brought out his guitar, took out a couple of keys, C, whatever, I don't know what, and we started doing some licks. And we just jammed for a little bit. It wasn't great, I'm a little rusty. But he brought the passion back. brought out some harmonicas, some harps, and I would start playing. And so that's kind of the effect that Luke could have on people. And I just want to say he will be missed. Although I didn't hear his bands, last night I went through all YouTube videos because I wanted to know who and where he was at. And so I went through all of them. Crisscross, River Band, Canvas. I wish there was a lot more. So any of you who have some clips, talk to Morris and Terry, because I'd love to get as much as is out there. I was really impressed with the bands. You could see the passion, see the joy that it brought him. And, you know, I recollect and was looking up, so all the great musicians, Luke had that passion. And though he was young, the one great thing that I think he achieved that so many people don't is he lived his passion, he lived his dreams. So that, I believe, he has lived a full life. Not as long as we want it to be, but I'm so grateful. I'm grateful to be part of his family and to have these memories. And again, I appreciate you being here, and I'm looking forward to meeting so many of you. And just want to say thank you.
Hi everybody, Kady, Savard. The next song we're going to do is Stay With Me. It's one of my favorites.
Well, in the morning
Next, we're going to do a song called I'll Be Back. It's another gem. Kathleen and Eileen.
First of all, I'd just like to say I know a lot of work has gone into this, and I just want to thank these wonderful, generous musicians for coming and putting all this effort into sharing their love for Luke with all of us through music. It's a wonderful tribute. I'll introduce ourselves. I am Kathleen Eileen, and we have lifelong friends of Morris, Terry, Luke, and Jack. And we've been given the greatest privileges to recount some stories of Luke's childhood and teenage years for you. I'm starting with some of Luke's childhood stories as my daughter Charlotte and Luke grew up side by side from the beginning, and Jack and Luke were the brothers that she never had. In fact, Luke helped to bring Charlotte home from the hospital when she was born. Luke and Charlotte spent time with an elderly couple, Matt and Dora and Vernon, when they were just little. And Luke used to run around and entertain Charlotte and keep her giggling and laughing. And this relationship lasted right up until the very end. After a brief stay in Vernon, our hometown, Morris, Terry, and Luke moved to Victoria. And this is where Luke began his journey as an imaginary, creative, and adventurous soul. When he was little, a sign of a truly creative child, he had imaginary friends. Sing, sing, and tom, tom. And he played baseball with them in the front yard. He played kitchen and restaurant in his playroom, and he had a full collection of stuffed toys because he loved to play Noah's Ark with Lauren Faulkner. His favorites were Bunny and Lamb. When Jack was born, Luke finally had this playmate that he was looking for. He was so excited. When Jack came home from the hospital, however, Luke was convinced that there was something wrong with Jack. Because Jack couldn't focus his eyes, he would look at him and say, "Jack has a staring problem." He kept asking when Jack would be big enough to play with. And he didn't wait long. Even before Jack could walk, he would throw him in a laundry basket, carry him around, down the hallway, and into the dining room, and deliberately tip the basket with Jack squealing in delight. But when Jack could walk, he started to get back at Luke. Because when Luke was in the bathtub, Jack would take his clothes and throw them in the toilet. Jack and Luke would deliver lines from movies at the breakfast table. Their favorites were So I Married an Axe Murderer, The Princess Bride, Inconceivable, and Shrek, and in the morning, I'll make waffles. Jack, Luke, and Charlotte went to daycare together at Belle Sika's house, where they played with family and gorged on homemade macaroni and cheese. Belle, Sabrina, and their family were very special to Luke. They spoiled him wonderfully. And as they got older, Jack and Luke went off to Spanish daycare in the neighborhood at the Pumpans house. They played in the yard, did crafts that had epic Star Wars and Warhammer battles with the Pumpan children. There were street hockey games with Jack and the litter of neighborhood kids in goal. Luke loved World War II stories. He loved history, and that stayed with him all the way through. Jack remembers using magnifying glasses to wound the plastic soldiers and painting blood on them. Another time, Terry saw a line of neighborhood kids with their hands behind their heads, and Luke holding a water gun on them, herding them to the shed. Worried, she asked, what game is this? And Luke replied, it's just UN peacekeepers, Mom. He had a way of telling a story that always made it more interesting, even if the facts weren't exactly spot on. The Rachwalskis had a dress-up bin, and Luke would run around the house in the neighborhood dressed up as a spaceman and Spider-Man. And as he got older, he was always up for Halloween and dress-up. And who could forget his take on Jimi Hendrix? We saw a picture of that in the slideshow. Family Christmases were about who could eat more Mom's stuffing, playing board games, watching movies. Luke loved going for dim sum at Don Mee's restaurant with the family, which was a tradition that they've had for years and years. Jack recalls one time when he and Luke were dropped off for a swim at Commonwealth Pool. In those days before cell phones, they spent all their money on snacks, so then they had to walk all the way home in flip-flops because they didn't have any more money for a phone call. Family years were filled with many close friends from school, soccer, baseball. There were many family outings, a lot of time at the beaches in Gordon Head. And at this point, I would like to thank, on behalf of the family, all of the wonderful neighbors, friends, everyone from the community who's come out today. Thank you so much. And now Eileen will take over for the teenage years.
Thank you. I'm really honored to speak about my friend Luke today. I'll tell you about school. School was pretty easy for Luke. In high school, he struggled a bit with some algebra, so Terry and Morris decided to hire a tutor, and Luke had figured out exactly what it would take to pass, and then he would just basically take the rest of the year off. He was a smart cookie. Everyone thought that Luke maybe wanted to be a designer or something because he took textile classes 3 times. But if you ask Luke why he was in textiles again, he would say, because that's where the girls are. Luke used his skills to retrofit a skimboard to wear like a backpack so that he could go on his bike and hit the beach. Real creative kid. When Jack went to Lambrick Park High School for his grade 9 orientation, Luke was there to suddenly grab Jack from behind and put him in a big wrestling chokehold, because that's what big brothers do. Luke graduated in 2009, and Luke convinced Terry and Morris to host a grad party by telling them that, there'd be 30 people or so. So 150 people later, it was a really good party. Good friends, no problems. Luke even had his Brazilian brother Tulio there, who was living with them from Brazil at that time, so it was a really special celebration. Luke loved that he could ask for things that his brother wouldn't necessarily ask for. I mean, how many sons want to raid their mother's jewelry boxes looking for cool bracelets, ethnic beads, and funky rings? He said, yeah, Mom, you can take me to Copacabana Beach, and, you can take Jack to, he wants to see the ice floes and play hockey in Siberia. So when Luke was 14, Terry, Luke, and I boarded a plane for Brazil. Terry had lived there with her adopted Portuguese family, and I had relatives to visit as well. The journey was pretty close to being the Amazing Race, with Terry negotiating bus tickets in her loud and expressive fluent Portuguese, while Luke and I scrambled to hoist our suitcases of the new leather shoes and dulce de leche onto the already moving bus. Brazil, for those of you that haven't been there, is sort of like living in a musical. The streets are filled with music, the cars are constantly booming with music, the family events all involve music, and there's salsa and drums, and everywhere you go there's music. Even if you're going to have their meal of feijoada, there's a song that goes along with it before you sit down to eat. So Luke loved that. He loved the Brazilian hippie fairs and beaches, the dune buggies, the girls, the music, girls. And he also managed to eat more barbecued beef than anyone had ever seen at a churrascaria. We managed to explore the Pantanal grasslands on horseback and the rainforest pathways by foot, and in the canopies by ziplining alongside the parrots and the monkeys, while below us the lagoons were dotted with caiman alligators. We explored caves, snorkeled down the Anaconda River with the piranha. There were giant river otters in the area and giant dorado fish. We even snorkeled through rapids. It was a great time, and I'll never forget it. And we took a slow metal boat through the sort of tight, overgrown jungle area. And we passed capybara and hundreds of unusual birds and reptiles. It was great. We quietly drifted past a floating object at one point, and without skipping a beat, Luke exclaimed, "You know, you don't get to see this every day, but I smell dead gator." We laughed so hard it scared a flock of birds, and we rocked the boat. And, well, when Luke was 15, I had the chance to take a road trip with Terry and Luke, and the goal was to see the 4th of July fireworks and the Seattle Music Museum. Luke was pretty excited to wander around this 140,000 square feet of memorabilia and interactive instruments and mock recording studios settings, so I was slightly bored by all the technical displays, and once I'd seen the actual beaded bikini and headdress that Cher wore, I was pretty well ready to go. Then I began to watch Luke, and he was genuinely in his element. He tried every noise-making instrument and drifted off into his own little head-shaking world. The ear-to-ear smile finally came through when we reached the Holy Grail, the Jimi Hendrix guitar. And so began the Purple Haze. When Luke got Osgood-Schlatters disease in his knees, he could no longer play soccer. That's when he got serious about music and about playing the guitar. His mom and dad drove him to weekly music lessons, mostly at Ken Pinoki's place. Luke serenaded us at home with guitar solos when we had these various theme nights at Terry and Morris's place. One of my favorites was arriving, and Luke was in his best dressed suit and nice jacket and tie, and greeted me with saying, "Bond, James Bond." And of course his watch could, do all kinds of super things. He was a creative kid. Luke loved to be different, and he developed his own style. In grade 8, he wore a tie to school every day, on the outside of his t-shirt, no less. He loved vintage shirts, cowboy wear, psychedelics, and paisleys. He amassed an eclectic wardrobe that fit well with his beard, that they say came easy for him to grow. The beard came in handy for getting into bars and clubs, including going into a funky little live music bar in Greenwich Village in New York City with his dad when he was only 19. I was lucky enough to be there to see Luke take his first steps into the arms of his proud parents. Luke was an easy baby, a happy-go-lucky kid, and when Luke hit the teen years, we tried to make up for all that as he was stretching his wings. He would tell Terry and Morris, "Well, it's a teenager's job to give their parents grief." Simple. Terry and Morris had a different perspective on all of this, but love conquers all. And all of the memories are now the simple treasures to keep and to hold close. I know someone out there I had seen on the Facebook page had actually tattooed a picture of Luke's face on themselves. And I wanted to pay tribute to him, but I can't go that far. But I know that I wish peaceful days for this giant Luke family. The Lichnowskis, the Rachwalskis, and all of the Luke friends and family, and the smiles that will remember him by. Thank you.
So we heard a little bit about how Luke was the life of the party. I got to see him at his best and worst at these parties. Anyways, Luke brought this song to me in 2012 and asked if we could maybe try to hash it out a little bit more, and it turned into this. It's called Genie, and it's inspired by wine and women.
What's your name? If I told you my intentions, would you treat me just the same? This is true that I'm a player, but you promised to me. When you wake up in the morning, only can slip away. I don't really treat you just the other day. She said I really got to do what we gotta pay. You know that time is money, but my dollar ain't free. If you pass it to the dollar, gotta pay the toll. Attraction. What's the use of a love gonna never sustain? There's nothing that I know you only can only take. If desire to resist you, be the whole of my way. I am a game to blow you up and see you go so little while I'm on the boss. You got to love the same thing every time.
section by Russ and Drew.
It's just going to be Russ here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Russell Gray. I had the honor of being Luke's friend in high school and after we graduated. To sum up our friendship in words may take a few days and include stories I'd rather not share with his family. This next song is a shining example of Luke's attitude and outlook on life. He always managed to put a positive spin on a plain world. As his lyrics will tell, his friends and music made his life complete, and he was more than willing to share what little he had with those around him. He wrote it on a Tuesday morning.
All right, this Tuesday morning. It's Tuesday morning and I hear the rain. Gray skies are blue, but the world outside is looking so green. Well, I got good friends, start to play my wild senses, but I'm feeling well just good.
thank you guys for letting us share our love of Luke through his songs, and we all feel very blessed to be a part of this. And now we're going to have Rudy and Devon up here to say a few words, and then we're going to hear from Canvas. Thanks, everyone.
Afternoon, everyone. My name is Rudy Schwab, and this is Devon. Hello. Here's some of the lucky ones that knew Luke best. We were two of his oldest and closest friends, and we also had the pleasure of accompanying Luke across Canada, or driving him across Canada, being his entertainment across Canada, to Montreal. Devon played the drums, and I drove him fed. Pretty much was how it went. And although I had the power of the food, we all know that it was really Luke who was calling the shots. Comfortably, of course, lounging in the back of the bus with a brew in his hand. This is why we affectionately called Luke Foreman, because he was always in charge of getting things done. Yeah. But like a good foreman always does, he would delegate. Or like a great foreman always does, he just knew that I would do the delegating for him. He would always say to me, Rudy, that's why you're here. I'm on vacation until you leave. Foreman was always on it.
So I'd just like to thank you, Rudy, Russ, and Peter, because we wrote the speech in Floyd's about 10 minutes before, I guess. So thank you, boys. First of all, I would love to thank everyone on behalf of Canvas for all your love and help you've given us in this time of need. We have needed it, and thank you so much, because we would not be here without any of you. We all love you so much from the bottom of our hearts, and again, thank you. Let's talk about Luke, though. From the very first day he stepped in my life, things changed. I adopted him in my little motorhome, and there we were, bonded, creating our own family. We were determined to follow our dreams and blaze our own trails, not letting anything stand in our way. Be it a lack of money, a proper home, we always managed to get by sticking together and supporting each other. Everyone knew Luke differently, be it one beautiful night as a lover, or a late night heart-to-heart as his brother. Or maybe you know him as the deep poet Serenade You to Harvest Moon by Neil Young. But the Canvas boys always knew him as the lazy foreman. First to rush to the swoon of ladies of the crowd while we took care of his equipment during tear down after a gig. Such a lovable character, always smiling, except the first thing in the morning. The best friend and a bandmate you could ever ask for. We laughed together, we've cried together, we fought a couple times, but we always had a profound respect and love for each other. And always will, eternal love for our brother, Henry Luke Rachwalski. And I have one poem from Charlie Daniels' record that we listen to all the time because we just want to be cowboys every day. So here it goes. To a brother, I guess us who take the highway are a different breed of men with a special kind of feeling. For the ones who call friend, it's an arm around your shoulder when the morning comes too soon. And a late night conversation in 1,000 motel rooms. It's a flood in not California but Montreal. And a snowstorm in St. Paul, which we never went to. And it takes a tough soldier to keep going through it all, but we're so much less than human when we lose one of our own. Now here's one more empty saddle. This old cowboy has gone home. Thank you.
Right, it did slip their mind that they, after the speech, had to play, so they're going to come up right now and play for you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Well, I think it's fairly safe to say that that's a one-of-a-kind service. And absolutely fitting for Luke. Well, you have remembered him. You have celebrated him for how he lived, honored him for the mark that he's left and the music that he made and all the memories and all kinds of good stuff. We just need to take a little bit of time now to carry out an act of letting go. You know how hard it is to release the mortal remains of someone back to the earth, letting go of that which can no longer be around you, someone you can't talk to, you can't hold on to. Part of the grieving process is to think, if I had only known. If I had only known this would be the last conversation. If I had only known this would be the last song. If I'd only known this was the last hug. All these different kinds of things. That's what we think of and what we feel when we go through grieving. But here's what I would encourage you to do. To try to get to the point of being gracious, of letting go of what can no longer be. And when you get to that point, you begin to realize that the most important things you need never let go of. The love that you had for him, and the love that he had for you, his family or his friends, does not end with death. It's still there. It goes on. That's not what you let go of. The memories will always be there. And each time a thought of him comes to mind, a little piece of him stays alive. And the influence will be there in so many ways. You'll go to do something, to play some song, to, think of something, and Luke will be there, and his influence will be upon you. That doesn't end. So I'm going to say a few words now that are meant to lay his physical body to rest. But I just remind you that that which truly is Luke, that part that you loved and loved you, goes on. Hold fast to that. With that in mind, then, it is according to an eternal plan that the body returns to the earth from whence it came. Well, the spirit is then set free to soar. Of all that is material, we must say earth to earth and dust to dust. But to his spirit we say, now you are free. Free to dream, to sing, to work, to love. Free to greet loved ones and old friends and to adventure on with them forever. And so now we say goodbye. But it's only goodbye until tomorrow. Friends, you will never forget the love that you have had for Luke, nor the appreciation that you have for the life that he lived. You can always be sure that his spirit lives on, and that memories of him will guide you and will inspire you. You need never forget the legacy that he's left in this world by his character, his actions, his influence. Indeed, you can always cherish that part of him that remains with you forever. And so now, we release him from our presence and from this world, knowing that he has fulfilled his purpose and his given time. And so we release his body back to the elements of the earth from which he came. May his mortal remains forever rest in peace. And to his spirit we say, be free, be fulfilled, and be rewarded for a life filled with such zest and passion, beauty. You are always with us. I have one last reading to share with you, and again, I want you to hear these as words that Luke would say to you. He didn't write them, but I think he would say them today. This is called Farewell, Family and Friends. It was beautiful as long as it lasted, this journey of my life, and I have no regrets whatsoever, unless my departure has caused you pain. You are those dear hearts who loved and cared for me, those strong hearts who held me up, even when my own strength would let me down. At every turning of my life, I've had good friends and family that have stood by me, even when I would race on by. So, farewell. Farewell, family and friends. I smile and bid you goodbye. Shed no tears, for I need them not. I would far prefer to see your smile. And if you think of me, well, I would like that. But the truth is, when you live in the hearts of those you love, you never truly die. On behalf of Luke's family, I want to express thanks to all who participated today. There's too many for me to run off on the list, but they're all listed in the program. And trust me, the family is deeply grateful to each and every one of you for your participation and your presence. We're grateful to Luke's family for putting this together in such a beautiful and fitting way for Luke. But it's not over with the close of this service, which will happen in just a few minutes. You are invited to the Ukrainian Cultural Center on 3277 Douglas Street. You know, it's the corner of Roderick and Cloverdale. And just after 6 p.m., it's going to be a time of an open jam and just enjoying the music again and the people and celebrating his life by hanging around the people he loved and doing the thing that he loved, making music. And so on behalf of the family, I want to mention that. And just one last word is that there's donation boxes where you can support the foundation that's being set up in Luke's name to support musicians. I'm going to call the musicians back up again, and we're going to close the service with the singing adaptation of the song The Wait. So we're going to need the house lights up, and the words to that are in the program that hopefully a number of you have. If you don't have one, look on somebody else's, and we'll sing along with this closing song. It has been a privilege to be part of this with you. Thank you so much.
We're all too far away from each other. This is better. We're so used to the Rachwalskis' living room, so it's my second home to us now.
So the Rachwalskis had asked me to kind of explain why we chose this song and maybe why we adapted the words as well. Some of you probably know Luke was a bit of a storyteller. He believed that if you're going to tell a story, you should make it a darn good one. So one of the yarns that he used to spin for me, and he told me a bunch of times, so I'm sure some of you heard it, is that he was named after this song, and his mom has actually told me since that he was full of it, and it's not the case. But there's a line that we changed in the song. We don't sing it in this version, but I want you to know it's went down as Moses. There's nothing that you can say. It's just old Luke, and Luke is waiting on the judgment day. Well, Luke, my friend, how about young Annalie? He named his guitar Annalie the Acoustic. How about young Annalie? Why don't you do me a favor, son, and keep Miss Annalie company? And we just felt that was very fitting, and the story is very Luke and kind of beautiful at the same time. So there's a lot of ways that you can interact with music. Luke taught me to come from a place of feeling, and I sort of taught him to understand the music and come from a place of meaning. And between the two, I had some really good times playing music with him. So here we go. This is the wait, and I'm gonna ask Theresa. I'm gonna ask Theresa to sing the chorus through, so you all can get a feeling for it. Okay? So Marty, when you're ready, let's drop into the chorus and let Theresa do her thing.
Take a load off Henry. Take a load for free. Take a load off Henry. You put the load right on me.
Yeah, so you feel it, don't you? Alright, now this time, no, feel it. We're gonna mean it. Alright, so we're gonna try it again. And I'm looking at all of you. So you got the words. You're on the spot. Here we go.
Into say.
Thank you, guys.
Searching